What's the craziest financial situation you've come across lately? I'll share mine. A couple relatives of mine I know had a paid-off house in Sydney. In their 30s. 4 kids. Only one works 1 day a week and they've been living off redraw for the past couple of years. They've now run out. But doesn't occur to either to get a full-time job. Make it make sense? Me had a chronic gambling addiction in my 20s. Got a $7,000 loan for my first car, proceeded to sell my car and not pay off my loan. Gradually increase my personal debt to $35,000. Come clean to my fiancé at the time, make a plan to pay off the debt. Get married, secretly relapse, rack up another $5,000 of secret debt. Eventually break down and come clean to wife. Go to GA for 12 straight months and slowly pay the debt off. Fast forward 7 years and have stayed gamble-free. Have no debt except our dream house with around 50 equity, own 2 cars outright and have 2 kids. Have a mate who worked at Big W part-time. 3-4 years ago he bought a $20,000 BMW with a $4,000 down payment, 10 interest over 7 years. He got a new job early this year that pays a little better but not much, $28, $30 an hour foot if I remember correctly. He'd just gotten a pay rise. A month ago he traded in his Beamer and put some money down, $12,000 trade-in for the BMW, $5,000 cash to buy a brand new Hyundai for $60,000. Similar loan conditions I believe, 9.5 over 7 years. Both times I tried telling him it was a bad idea. Both times he couldn't see it. He's 26. I'll give you a reverse one. I know this 80-year-old guy who has a block of 4 flats, another 2 units, another house, and 2 farms. All paid for. So probably around $5 million plus in assets. He won't retire and stresses over needing to continue to work and make money, and I'm sure he has more than enough in super and cash in bank accounts to last rest of his and his wife's life without selling any assets. All of his children are doing well and don't need financial assistance from him. That guy is my father. Work colleague, C.200K salary, late 20s. Complains non-stop about interest rates and cost of property. Also about having no money. Just bought an investment property in VIC with maximum leverage. Lives for free in an apartment owned by his family. Just spent $20,000 an engagement ring, $100,000 loan on a car, and also complains that he can't afford a Rolex just yet. Had to borrow money from his family for bills last month. Blows my mind. I know someone parent's friend who lives off the pension, refuses to downsize from her $1.8 million house, refuses to touch her super so her kids will get an inheritance and constantly can't afford to eat because she has about 10 cats. Spending $3M on a 2BR in the eastern suburbs and complaining about it. However, refuses to move any other suburb. Friends maxing out $20,000 early release of super just to buy luxury bags. And one of the LV bags is just for nappies. Not the craziest, but still enough to warrant a head shake. My ex-husband put huge financial pressure on our young family by going to get a loan on a $120,000 Land Cruiser. Thankfully it was in only his name, so when we separated I was not tied to that debt. 3 years later, with still $60,000 owing on the car, he has sold it for $80,000 as a down payment minus the loan, on a $200,000 Chevy Ute that is so impractical and doesn't fit in normal parking spots, and has taken an additional loan for the rest. And it's all because he lives for the attention he gets while out in these cars. I know a woman who bought her house years ago, 1998, for $165,000. The house is now worth about $1.2 million. She still owes about $300,000 and makes about $111,000 par. Hubby has his own business but doesn't really make any money from it. Refinances it every year for holidays, an extension, buying a business for her husband, furniture, a new car every so often, etc. The list goes on and on. Her goal at 52 is to buy an investment property against her PPOR, but never have her husband in her will get either property. Good luck. But it's her money. I'm fairly financially illiterate, but this thread made me feel so much better about myself. Yes, I've got hex debt which is shit, but I've never had a credit card or a loan and don't owe any other money. Know a couple who have a Porsche on finance, their other 2 cars on finance, their son's car on finance. They rent. They struggle to find a place because they couldn't come up with a bond, the list goes on. Oh, and the husband owes 4 years of taxes, face with tears of joy, face with tears of joy. A friend asked me to crunch the numbers on his retirement plan. He wanted $100,000 a year and had figured he'd need to buy 3-4 houses to rent out to generate that income. He couldn't see the flaw. That he would need to use that income to pay the mortgages on the houses. This guy is late 50s and spent the entirety of his career working for a bank. My own situation. I got unconditional approval for a home loan a day before I left my job with no other job lined up. Was forced to resign. Mortgage is $1,148 a fortnight and I don't have a partner. Was unemployed for 3 weeks and got told last week that I've got a new job. Settlement is tomorrow and I move in next week, will start my new job mid-September. I'm either very lucky or very smart. How much equity do they have left in the house? If they've owned for 10 years, even if they've used the redraw, it's possible they still have a lot of equity in the house and it's not that bad of a situation. Not that surprising that people don't want to go back to work if they don't need to. Accounting client easily worth $150 million with no other debt, routinely finances cheap cars at the car yard. These stories are total insanity. I feel bad for using Afterpay every few months for the odd thing I can't instantly afford. I once worked with a cook who earned around $60,000, $70,000 par. His parents bought him an apartment in the inner city. So with all of his extra cash he went and bought a brand spanking spec to the Max V8 Mustang. Dude's repayments, insurance and fuel sometimes meant he couldn't even afford to pay for parking, so he couldn't even drive to work. He also went out and bought a dog for $5,000 as well. A young person at my work buys takeaway coffee, breakfast and lunch almost every day, but overheard them calling their parents to pay for a $70 unexpected expense. Some kid in his 20s just went over $500K in net value. I work as hospitality staff in the VIP area of a stadium. There was a guy who tried to pay cash for his kid's soda, but I said we were a cashless venue. Then he starts whinging at me that he doesn't have money in his card and the kid's soda was like $5, but his card still declined. I really want to understand how someone who can afford to be in the VIP lounge can not have $5 in their account. I wish I wasn't so worried about money. I have been in traumatizing situations that make me not want to spend and enjoy life, and I keep worrying about losing my job. Because of a shonky resume, disabilities, and it being hard for me to find new jobs. Had a friend who was renting a room in an apartment, then the owner wanted to sell. Her roommate moved out, but she was too lazy to move out, so she asked her parent for a deposit, and decided to take out a $650-700K mortgage and bought the place. 2 years later her fixed rate ended and she's now feeling it as her repayments has gone up to around $1,000 per week. She is now looking for a roommate. My parents just increased the rent on their investment properties. They don't have any mortgage, are retired, don't need any more money, but with all the talk of housing crisis decided it needed to go up. Now they are looking at ways to spend the windfall of $2,000 mo. I bought a unit based on someone influencing me. I'm now in such great debt I'm literally living off nothing week to week. If the unit wasn't an investment I'd be stuffed. I spent $150 of my monthly disposable income on a fishing rod. Someone got $500K when they woke up. My own, doubled my income, but between extra taxes, extra interest rates increases as well as cost of living pressures, I feel like I am worse off. X200B. In your example, something may have happened that made them suddenly want to spend more time with each other, e.g. a disability, or someone in the family not having as much time as they would have initially thought.